I table the Statement of Compatibility with the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act 2006. In accordance with Section 28, I make the Statement of Compatibility with respect to the Family Violence Rehabilitation Program Bill 2018. I move that the bill now be read a second time. Start quote. It's obvious that if you want to reduce domestic violence, you're going to have to look at other options besides simply locking people up. I'm not suggesting for a minute that people who commit serious domestic violence offences shouldn't be in prison. My point is really that may serve the interest of justice, but it certainly won't reduce the rate of reoffending. Words spoken by Dr. Weatherberg, Director of the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research in Sydney since 1988. In a time with more than 1 in 4 perpetrators of family violence reoffending, we need to implement rehabilitation. We must implement the Family Violence Rehabilitation Program, or FVRP. At its core, this program has the purpose of creating a safer and more aware society, in the end, reducing rates of family violence. The former Chief Justice of the Family Court, Diana Bryant, Queen's Counsel, Australian Order, stated that rehabilitation is the only option to reduce rates of family violence. Nothing can change in a perpetrator's habits and actions without rehabilitation, which introduces the second aim of this program, to provide an alternate pathway to prison sentencing through Phase 1. This bill targets a very specific set of people who, without the bill, would go to prison. I would like to present you all with the hard truth of the current justice system. Words from a judge himself, working in the Australian legal system for almost 15 years, an expert in this field. He said, and I quote, "If you think that Australian prisons are doing anything to rehabilitate convicted people, you know absolutely nothing about the prisons." End quote. Prisons do nothing but fester resentment, building up a sentiment of injustice and strengthening hate within the convicted person. Prisons alienate people, isolating them from society. The complete lack of focus on rehabilitation means it is all too common for offenders to have no desire to change their behaviours once they return to society. Even worse, if they do not have the resources. No support networks or systems put in place inside the prison are available to offenders once they leave the case. This was made evident in the statistics that show that the proportion of perpetrators of family violence who had more than one incident recorded annually has increased significantly over the past 10 years, from 18.4% in 2006 to 27.0% in 2015, or more than 1 in 4. This leads me perfectly to the third aim of the FVRP, re-education, rehabilitation, and reintegration, all part of the Phase 2 of our program. Perpetrators who are not rehabilitated negatively impact society. They tear families apart, incite fear, and destroy confidence on top of physically, sexually, psychologically, economically, and or emotionally abusing humans. In being ostracized through the criminal justice system, they are given no incentive to make a positive impact on society. Instead, they will veer towards hating society that casts them away, shrinking into themselves, and offering nothing of value to anyone. In order to have perpetrators who benefit society, we need to rehabilitate them. In educating them about how to interact positively in society, in managing anger healthily, and learning non-violent behaviours, perpetrators shall be able to adopt the essential behavioural changes needed to improve these dire statistics. This is something that no Victorian prisons teach. Our fourth and final aim is to provide a focus that the status quo simply does not emphasise on understanding the underlying reasons for their actions. If any change is to happen, we cannot simply hope for it to occur. We must rely on the professional help of people trained in psychology, along with a strong network of mentors and supportive friends, as explained in Clause 6.2, all working together in unison to help each perpetrator come to terms with what causes them to react in the way they do. Thus having the ability to fully engage in the process of becoming the best version of themselves. Now to the logistics of the program in question. There will be 2 kinds of participants. Convicted offenders of family violence who have been ordered to participate by a magistrate, and former offenders of family violence who volunteer themselves. The program involves a boarding situation participants, which will be further expanded upon by the third speaker. Importantly, the FVRP is a fully government-funded, managed M1 program. This leads to far better accountability and far better accessibility, especially for the incredibly important low socioeconomic demographic than existing programs run by private organisations, at least partly for a profit. Finally, we want to ensure that funds are being allocated correctly, and that this program is the best it can possibly be. So the effectiveness of the program will be reviewed every 3 months for the first 2 years, and every year from that point on, by the Department of Health and Human Services. We acknowledge the importance of educating the next generation, but also see that stopping reoffence as the most pressing issue that must be addressed now. Our bill must pass in order to help the maximum amount of people. Thank you.
I call the Honourable Member Meadows.
Thanks, Speaker. For Honourable Member Meadows, I would like to first begin by acknowledging the urgency of addressing the issue of domestic violence and that the government supports the sponsors of the bill in their goal. Far from degrading the severity of domestic violence, we seek to treat the issue with the seriousness it deserves, and everything we say is in relation to the bill only, with only the purpose of strengthening it. While the opposition's worthy